Hey guys, Mrs. Bryant, welcome back to Flip Video.
Hello, it is
Leanne,
Lynn, Jasmine. Oh,
and they would like to say hello to
first period. Amelia.
and first period.
Nathan.
Okay, before we start today, I need you to go ahead and open up your ISN to the tab book where we were talking about quadratic equations. When we talked about tables and graphs and factoring, we're going to go ahead and do the third tab, which is the quadratic formula. And this is what I'm talking about. Open your tab book to the quadratic formula. You will notice that there are 3 examples, and we will be using and going over those 3 examples. So press pause until you have it out, and once you have it out, you can hit play and resume the video.
At this time.
Okay, if you remember, we talked about quadratic equations being in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. The quadratic formula is yet another way to solve the solutions, and this is the formula that we are going to practice over the next 4 or 5 days. You do not have to have this formula memorized because it is located on your math chart, and you will be getting math charts tomorrow in class. So let's talk about it. To solve a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula, I need you to write these 4 points. Actually, you don't because you have the notes. So, make certain the equation is set to equal. We've already know that that has to be done. Identify the values of A, B, and C. Substitute the values into the formula, and then evaluate the solutions. So let's go ahead and solve our 3 examples in our note or in our tab book. So the first example is 0 equals 1x squared plus 4x minus 5. I believe the example doesn't have, but remember when you have just a variable and there's no number in front of it, you got to remember that there's an invisible 1. So next to A, write 1. Next to B, write 4. And next to C, write negative 5. Here's the formula. So we are going to go ahead and start substituting our numbers or our values into our formula. Negative b, so it's negative 4, plus or minus, so that means we're going to do it twice, square root, b squared, so 4 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times b, which is times c, which is negative 5, all over 2 times 1. Now, you might say, Ms. Bryant, can I use my calculator? Eventually. Do not use a calculator until you are done doing all the little bit of math, and I will show you when you can use a calculator. I don't like using a calculator. It's easier to do in my head. So, negative 4. Now we are simplifying our equation. 4 squared is 16 minus 4 times 1 is 4. I'm sorry, negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times negative 5 would be a positive 20 over 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 4 plus or minus square root of 36 over 2. So negative 4 plus or minus 6 over 2. Now here's where we need to talk about the plus or minus. That means, so it can go in 2 different directions now. It could be negative 4 plus 6 divided by 2, or negative 4 minus 6 divided by 2. Negative 4 plus 6 is positive 2, so 2 divided by 2 equals 1. Negative 4 minus 6 is negative 10 divided by 2 equals negative 5. So your solution set is x equals set of 1 comma negative 5, and there's your answer. So let's do the next example. Your equation or your quadratic equation was x squared plus 6x plus 9. Remember, you have that invisible 1 in front of x squared, so your a is 1, your b is 6, and your c is 9. Now plug in your values or substitute your values into your quadratic formula. So x equals -6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9 over 2 times 1. Once that's done, simplify your equation, plus or minus square root of 36. -4 times 1 is -4 times 9 would be -36 over 2. So you have -6 plus or minus the square root of 0 divided by 2. So now's when you're going to break it off. -6 plus 0 divided by 2 equals -3. And then you're going to have -6 plus, that should be a minus. Minus 0 divided by 2 is still going to be a -3. So this only has one solution. Let's do our third and final example. X squared minus 6x plus 15. Go ahead and list out your values of a, b, and c. And now we can plug it into our quadratic formula. -b, so -6 plus or minus square root of -6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 15 all over 2 times 1. Now we can simplify our equation. Negative times a -6 is a +6 plus or minus square root. -6 times -6 is 36. -4 times 1 is -4 times 15 would be -60 all over 2. So we have 6 plus or minus square root of -24 divided by 2. When you have a negative number under the square root, your answer is no solutions. Make sure you have this written down because that is a very, very valid point. So, filling in the top of your formula. How many solutions did our first one have? Two. What do you notice about what's underneath our square root? If it is a positive number under our square root, you should have 2 solutions. What do you notice about this number underneath the square root? If you have 0, you will only have 1 solution. And when you have a negative underneath the square root, you will have no solutions. So, the value under the radical sign is called the discriminant, and we will have a foldable in class tomorrow for us to work on that. It determines the number of solutions a quadratic equation has. If the value of a perfect square, there are 2 real solutions. If the value is 0, there is 1 real solution, and if the value is negative, there are no real solutions. If the value is any other real number, there are 2 solutions. These solutions are approximations. So tomorrow when you come in, we will work on this foldable, so be ready to do that. And if you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments section, and I will get back to them. Otherwise, I will see you in class tomorrow. Have a great day.